Gravatio est. Enigma crudelitas est.
Hello everyone, Enigmasiki here. So in the past month there has been another flare-up of mystery booms. This tends to happen during the winter time, but has nothing to do with the weather. YouTubers like SecurityTem have also noticed the phenomenon, which I have told him about, so he has shed some light on some of the individual reports, which I thank him for. But there are other reports that he is overlooking, because local media will explain the booms away through some logical assumption because of more than one incident that happens on the same day of the boom. Keep in mind, local media's job is not to investigate. Their job is to move on to the next story. They're not going to spend hours looking through Facebook comments to see if there's a pattern, which I try to do. So I have compiled the top reports that I believe have a high probability of being a USN, which I categorize the mystery booms under. I use resources like American Meteor Society to filter out bolide meteors. I try to use USGS to filter out earthquakes, and flight trackers to filter out jets. I look up explosive videos to compare the claims on the Facebook pages with tannerite to see if actually something like tannerite can actually shake the ground, and most of the video evidence I found shows that tannerite cannot do that. And I try to find surveillance cameras, which is very hard to come by. So if you guys experience a phenomenon like the mystery booms, please share your surveillance cameras, or please share your experience and upload it to YouTube. So without further ado, here's this compilation.
6 is working for you, getting you answers about a weather phenomenon rattling thousands in our viewing area. Here are some social media questions we're getting, like, do you know what's going on? We are hearing and feeling all kinds of bangings and bumpings. Another viewer saying, quote, I was lying on the sofa at 8:32 p.m. and kept hearing like explosion sounds twice. I heard it. Kyle, you are taking all of these questions and you have answers tonight. What are these people more than likely experiencing?
Yeah, Matthew, I heard it last night too when I got home, and it's something called frost quakes, which is not something that's very common across our portion of the country. Kind of take you back here through time, exactly what happened. Thursday evening, remember we had that rain coming down. We had temperatures which were in the 50s, and then as we went throughout Thursday night and into Friday morning, a drastic drop in those temperatures. We changed over to a little bit of that wintry mix, numbers that dropped below freezing, and that water from the rain that got into the ground started to freeze. Well, then last night we got even colder. We got those temperatures down into the single digits, and so that water that's been in the ground has been freezing, and as that ice expands, puts more stress on the ground, and so we get these little what are called frost quakes, and so they start to expand, and once that stress is relieved, we start to hear that popping sound. And some people have said, you know, it sounds like it's coming from the attic. Well, that sound traveling from great distances at times, so it may sound like it's coming from just about anywhere. And also the houses are settling a little bit too. We're heating the interior, but then areas like the attic, things are a little bit colder there. So those are a couple of different reasons that we're hearing those, and may hear a couple more as we go into tonight. All right.
Mysterious booms echoed across the Fox cities Friday night.
It was a little bit startling at first because it was kind of louder than usual.
It was so loud, 10-year-old Michael Christensen retreated to her basement for protection.
And we heard this giant noise and we thought, oh, it's gonna start raining or something, because we thought it was thunder.
A lot of people from the Menasha area say the noise sounded like thunder, but some people from Neenah say it sounded like something else.
And as soon as we drove by, we saw the firecrackers go off out of the parking lot and heard the big boom.
James Martin thinks it was kids playing around with firecrackers. Fox 11 went to the Neenah Police Department for answers.
Multiple calls, more than we can count. People just calling in saying they heard loud booms like fireworks or possible gunshots.
Lieutenant Jonathan Kufel tells us the noise was reported in different areas with no exact location.
So the officers went out, checked the area, couldn't find anything. We got reports of vehicles leaving the Rec Park area on South Park Avenue.
That's when we took a trip to Rec Park in Neenah in search of any evidence of debris.
Hey Chris, I think I found something.
What I found was a firecracker wrapper. Many people on Facebook suggest it was from a funeral for a man who was part of the pyrotechnics team. However, some are saying it's too widespread to be firecrackers. One woman says the noise was heard in Winnebago, Outagamie, and Calumet counties. Others indicate it's possibly snowquakes due to the rapid warming temperatures. And when asked how many booms residents heard,
It's just one big noise.
I think it was just 2 or 3 aerial shells that went off.
there's no doubt the noise continues to be a Fox Valley mystery. Pafu Yang, Fox 11 News.
Now to Ozaukee County, where people heard several loud booms last night and had no idea what it was.
Yeah, with no confirmed cause, some people are suggesting a frost quake could be to blame. Lauren Winfrey talked to people in the area who tell her what happened.
Neighbors say it sounded like a cannon firing, with a bang so intense it even rattled a few homes. It's a quiet, still Sunday in Ozaukee County. But that's only after dozens of neighbors were frightened following what Joette Slaustead and her husband describe as a loud sound going bump in the night.
I heard two loud booms.
It sounded like boom. And then it sounded like boom.
A boom typically known as a frostquake that sounds something like this. According to Scott Ziegler, Director of Emergency Management at the Ozaukee County Sheriff's Office, a frostquake happens when water in the ground freezes and expands. The pressure can cause a loud boom and a shake similar to an earthquake.
Not unheard of in this area, but it has been quite some time since I've heard anybody reporting any.
4 winters ago, to be exact.
Yeah, I never heard a boom up there in the house. I was in the house.
Today's TMJ4 last reported on a frostquake so intense it caused a 100-foot-long crack in the driveway of a home in Waupun.
They generally don't ever impact public safety, cause damage. Just kind of an unsettling event.
So unsettling, Joel Claremont, who lives in Cedarburg, took to Twitter, asking if anyone heard what he described as a giant explosion.
It wasn't a gunshot, it wasn't a firecracker, it wasn't a car crash, things that you might expect to hear. It was something unusual and loud.
Investigating now after receiving a whole bunch of reports of a loud boom in Hamden this morning. Officers say people have complained about noises before, but usually in an industrial area. This time, police don't know where this big boom came from. But a lot of people heard it. We put the story on our News 8 Facebook page today, and we've gotten a whole bunch of comments from people who heard this weird sound there today. Here's a sampling of our page. Patrick says it shook his house this morning. Wendy says she heard it at her place around 6:30. She says it sounded like someone hit her house with their fist. Deborah commented, this has been happening in the Moosop and Plainfield area for a long time, and no one can explain it.
Really loud booms. That's the talk amongst folks in Lindale who just can't figure out what they're hearing.
Yeah, some people are saying these so-called explosions are so loud, houses are shaking. CBS 19's Taylor DeHaze has more.
Take a look at this Facebook page. It's called What's That Sound Lindale, and more than 100 people in the town are wondering what they're hearing. One comment from Ashley Stewart says, heard a loud boom that rattled our house. Just wish we knew what it was.
Boom. And it's not long, it's not drawn out, it's just like boom. And it shakes the house.
Stewart has a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old. She says her family was enjoying a Sunday afternoon when they heard a loud explosion, and it keeps happening.
No safety concerns. I think it's probably more nuisance. And, you know, a lot of people were thinking that it might be the new tollway being put in. People joke about the new Chick-fil-A coming in, that it could be that.
The only explanation she and others in Lindale can come up with is that the loud booms are tannerite. It's a combination of ammonium nitrate and aluminum powder, and it's made to explode only when hit with a high-velocity rifle used for target practice. CBS 19 spoke with Lindale police, who say they haven't figured out who's behind the explosives. One thing to know, tannerite is legal. Smith County Sheriff Larry Smith is a former explosive specialist with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
The reason it's not classified by ATF, or Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, as an explosive is it doesn't meet all the criteria. In other words, it's not detonator or what we call cap sensitive.
Sheriff Smith says tannerite itself, when used correctly, isn't harmful.
They have more to fear by the mere shooting of the firearm if it's not being done in a safe direction than they do the tannerite itself.
Ultimately, there's nothing anyone in Lindale can do about the loud booms.
It does suck that you have to hear it, but it's just one of those things. We live in East Texas.
In Smith County, Taylor DeHaze, CBS 19.
Well, inside the house, I'd say it sounded like maybe an M80 going off or something, or fire, or dynamite. I don't know. It was loud.
Midwest City resident John Smith says it came out of nowhere.
Vibration, big boom. First the big boom, and then vibration.
His neighbor across the street describes the same scenario.
Picture frames on the walls, they were rattling, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
With the Sooner State's infamous seismic activity, it seemed there could only be one explanation.
We thought we had an earthquake, and We waited and looked on the news and everywhere else. Nobody posted anything, so we had no idea what it was.
Recent data doesn't show any quakes in the area, but phone calls from concerned citizens still overwhelmed dispatchers.
Since nobody's saying anything, we don't know what it was. It makes you wonder if they're hiding stuff, and, things are going on that we don't know that's happening. They do that.
But what if it was something else, something related to these frigid temperatures? We checked with our forewarned meteorologist John Slater to see what could be behind the event. 2 words, groundwater.
And with these cold fronts coming through, the water just freezes rapidly. And it turns out when water freezes, it expands.
And since ice takes up more room than water, it can cause small explosions under the ground. They're called cold booms, and they can seem an awful like our notorious tremors.
Absolutely. With all these earthquakes we've been having lately, all of a sudden you get a boom and you're thinking earthquake automatically.
Mystery right now in the metro. Reports of an explosion or maybe just some sort of loud noise that are waking people up in the middle of the night and nobody can figure out what it is.
And Wheat Ridge police say their own officers have heard it too, and they're now asking for help. Liz Gilardi has this bizarre story.
I've heard them constantly. They've woken me up a few times.
Startling residents out of their sleep, shaking homes, setting off car alarms. But what is it?
To me, it sounds like a very large explosion, like an overhead firework.
No one really seems to know. Jerry DiTullio is the Wheat Ridge treasurer. He's been tracking the booms and says it's not just an isolated incident.
Around 31st and Pierce, 32nd and Ingalls, 38th and Allison, and also down near 46th and Reed.
And he says it's been going on since July.
It's usually one explosion after midnight and then they're done.
Out of that boom in Brazoria County, some people thought it was a chemical explosion, maybe a gas leak, or even a meth lab blowing up. Well, Melissa Correa tracked down the source.
Just after noon
Saturday, Christina and Rolando Alvarez were
putting our house numbers up, and we hear this really loud boom. Like, not just a regular, maybe somebody was shooting a gun, because that's normal in Alvin.
2 miles over.
Man, babe, did you hear that big boom? It shook the ground. And he goes, big.
Susie Russell couldn't read her husband's text fast enough.
Man, it shook the house pretty bad.
So bad, the kids flew off the wall.
I got on Facebook to talk of Alvin, and it was like, anybody else hear this? What's going on?
Out on Brazoria County Road 147, people heard it come from over here or over there.
Out here in Alvin, it's
hard to tell unless you follow the laugh.
I didn't think we were going to be that loud.
On Janice DeSagers' 20 acres, 2 pounds of tannerite and 15 pounds of blue powder.
Honestly, I thought it was a bomb at first.
Makes for one epic gender reveal.
We'll leave an update to a story we brought you yesterday about a large boom felt and heard around the valley on Tuesday. First News learned that East Fairfield Coal was blasting for limestone in Petersburg. The company says they blast both underground and on the surface. On Tuesday, they did a surface blast, which most likely bounced off the clouds and allowed the sound to travel further. People living in the area are worried that the blast could damage property.
The house is on rock, so we feel any little vibration, anywhere that they're doing anything down there, which is understandable. But on the other hand, I don't want to lose, a well or a foundation in the basement either. So
East Fairfield says there's permanent seismographs half a mile around the area, as well as temporary ones they put out today. They blast at least once a week and say they never exceed the legal limit.
Social media started buzzing last night about a mysterious boom reported by people in communities across Oconee County. The National Weather Service confirmed it wasn't weather-related, and the U.S. Geological Survey reported no sign of earthquake activity.
Yes, we can cross those 2 things off our list, but Fox Carolina's Margaret Burnquist, she wanted to find out what it is. She's live in Seneca. So, Margaret, we reached out to the Oconee County Sheriff's Office and Emergency Management last night, but they didn't have any reports. So have you gotten any farther with finding out what was behind these booms?
Well, those agencies didn't have any reports, but they were aware of the social media buzz and that online conversation about what people heard and felt here in Seneca and in other communities across Oconee County last night at about 10 p.m. That conversation is still a hot topic today.
They're just not sure what the sounds are, and a lot of people don't know where they're coming from. Now, the area we're talking about is in Athmar Park in southwest Denver, but people in surrounding neighborhoods are chiming in too. When you live in a city like Denver, you hear all kinds of noises, but some catch you off guard.
Out of nowhere, there's a loud explosion. And I was like, whoa, what was that, you know?
The source still a mystery for this homeowner who asked us not to show his face. It left him a bit startled.
It was that loud where I thought there could have been a hole in someone's house. I couldn't tell if it was a car crash or an explosion, but I think explosion.
Similar complaints were coming from Wheat Ridge, where one homeowner caught this sound on camera. Back in Denver, the sounds have been a hot topic on Next Door in the Athmar Park neighborhood. Some people blame trains, others sonic booms or construction.
You know, I always thought it was like a trash truck, you know, dumping a big dumpster or something like that, boom. But like you said, I think I've heard it every night, and I don't really know what it is. You know, it's just like a sound, and it kind of seems like it's coming from that building there, but I'm not positive.
The talk of noise is being blown out of proportion, says Fred Capper. Even with all these people saying that they sound like so many different things, houses blow up.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry, you know, I'd like to make a better story, but that's...
This area is near a busy 6th Avenue and I-25, which bring a lot of traffic.
My wife and I did hear some loud kind of bang noises a few nights back, and we just assumed it was either gunshots somewhere or like a car backfiring.
Sounds that some say are becoming more common and not going away anytime soon. And they say that because Athmar Park is in this area right here. You have I-25 here, and then you also have 6th Avenue right up there. So just a hot spot when it comes to noise. We're checking with Denver police to see if they've gotten any complaints in the neighborhood. There's still a mystery, though, in Wheat Ridge, where you're asked to call the non-emergency number if you're hearing those booming sounds. Vicente Arenas, Fox 31.
All right, Vicente, thank you.
All right, it is February 22nd, 11:45 p.m. At the moment, I have to put on this leather glove in order to touch my doorknob, otherwise I'm getting electrocuted. There was a very loud bang about 2.5 minutes ago. It shook my entire trailer. Things were falling off the wall. This piece of wood actually fell from up above. It was crazy. It was crazy. The whole thing lasted a few seconds, and now my doorknob is electrified. I have to wear my leather glove. It's storming outside all of a sudden. Suddenly following that loud boom. I don't know why my doorknob is electrified. That is crazy, and I don't understand if anyone else in northeastern Arkansas experienced this loud boom or any kind of electrical interferences on this night, February 22nd, 11:45 p.m. Please let me know. I'd like to know I'm not the only one going through this crazy shit. Anyway, that's just it. I'm afraid to go outside. Like I said, I have to use this to test the doorknob. Otherwise, I'm not even gonna do it because it hurts. It shocks really hard. It's never done that before. It just happened right after that loud boom. It shook the trailer. It broke a piece of wood. This piece of wood fell from up above, up here by the ceiling, and just bam. The trailer shook that freaking hard.